Hello,
What up, everybody?
world! Episode 21 of the Thursday Exchange. It is a
We
lovely Thursday night.
and our show is officially old enough to drink now. 21.
Wow. I cannot believe we've made it this far. I cannot believe we've made it this far. It's pretty darn exciting. And tomorrow, the opening of the Catskill International Film Festival. We know that the world is going to be watching. We have a few guests later on this evening to talk about their films that we're very excited to have. And wow, what a week it's been!
Yeah, it's been a little bit interesting.
You look like you got a tan from that extra week you had off.
Yeah, I've been out on the little mini farm that I've been working on. It's like not quite a co-op, but it kind of is. Basically, three families, we all got together to start working on it and grow some food and then just sell whatever extra we have. And so I've been busting my bum on that, and it's been pretty busy. But I've been outside for about 12 hours a day, yeah.
So adding to what you're saying, we talked in previous episodes about a great therapeutic escape. So now that you're grounded, you ever find yourself going barefoot while gardening and like getting solid with the earth?
Oh yeah, I roll around naked in the dirt.
Hey, listen, you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do.
That would be really uncomfortable and very awkward, especially since it's not my property. But yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so tonight we're gonna have a really interesting discussion on the media and people's trust in the media. It's a big thing that went
I
on.
have none.
It's a big thing that went on during the presidential election, and a lot of things that we know, we don't realize how distorted they are depending on what news source you get them from. And we really thought this would be a hot topic to discuss, as well as something that's very relevant for me today.
And they even canceled Dr. Seuss. Like, what the hell, man?
Oh my goodness. So today was a very interesting scenario with me. I mean, a lot of feedback and a lot of like emails and messages from friends, families, other filmmakers who happened to read the article that was posted from the River Reporter. Now, I think the intentions of the author were not to be as hot as they turned out. He tried to be comedic. He's a good guy.
Mess.
Listen, over the years, I've grown a close friendship with this individual, and he's a pretty awesome guy. However, the article did come across like he didn't give a shit, and that's the way it was written. He clearly said like he wasn't paying attention to what was going on, and I found myself at times feeling offended. Maybe I was being sensitive because I was the one he was interviewing, but the way I looked at it is this is, an article about the film festival that I'm running, which at this point, this is the 5th film festival I'm running. This is no joke to me. This is a serious matter. This is the 3rd Catskill International Film Festival. And prior to this, I did 2 Hudson Valley International Film Festival. This is something I'm very serious about. I don't
Cheap either.
Yeah, I don't second guess the film festival in any type of way. And the article was written in such a way that it seemed like he'd rather be anywhere but in the interview with me, and he clearly says it. And as much as it seemed silly, yeah, it seemed a little silly, but a lot of people didn't see the humor. And I'm just letting you guys know there's no bad blood or anything. I just want you guys to know that I guess even bad press is good press. It got you to read, and it got you to hopefully tune in to the Catskill International Film Festival tomorrow. It's a free event for all to participate. If you have a computer, a tablet, a cell phone, smart TV,
One of those magic light boxes.
Yes, you can watch and participate. We urge people to get on Facebook and watch the Q&As and get involved with the workshops. And here's the deal, guys. The more you participate, the more you share, the more you like, the better chances you have to win really cool prizes like one of these babies right here. Yes, we got them printed out, the Catskill International Film Festival t-shirts. We're going to have other candy baskets that we did last time, gift cards, you name it. We're doing it every block of Q&As and workshops. We are doing prize giveaways. So stay tuned, guys. Like, this is something much different than we've done last time. But like I said,
but just getting back to what you were talking about, though, with the article real quick. It wasn't so much that it, like, from what I was reading, it wasn't so much that it was like necessarily 100% like an attack job or anything like that. I can see where he was trying to be funny. The problem is the fact that he contacted you 2 days ahead in advance to tell you, hey, don't get offended. And that means that you're taking media, and this goes to media in general, you're twisting the truth to create a narrative. And that's where I have the problem.
Yeah.
Because it's no longer news if you're making it up.
Yeah.
It's just storytelling.
Well, that was the thing too. He expressed to me that it was primarily, it was for the entertainment. He didn't mean to offend anybody. But I told him, I said, the work that were creating was not fiction. This was work of, this is reality here. You're talking about an event. And yes, you could, I answered questions funny and silly, and you could give your own internal thoughts. But when you're talking about like, you're daydreaming about like whatever is going on behind you, it came across offensive to me. So I'm just like, when I was announcing this, I'm just letting people know. Yeah. I'm not offended. He's a great guy. Was it my favorite article written about an event of mine? Absolutely not. And of course, listen, we're all critical of ourselves and our work and the publicity we get. But yeah, today was, like I said, shocking because of the amount of feedback I got. They were like, whoa, what was that? So that's where I kind of draw the line. And listen, I've had instances in the past with like reporters for previous events or articles written where I've had to contact the newsroom and say, listen, you need to amend this. You need to create like some sort of piece in the aftermath that tells the truth because you guys gave false information behind the article. Yeah. And I had to do it because like some of the stuff that was quoted was misrepresented. Some of the details were not true. And I can't have that. That's just the same thing with any type of publicity. And I think that needs to happen more often.
This ties into everything that's been going on though lately. It's not only like just the false narrative, but like the fact that people can go in and say, I feel threatened by this piece, or I feel offended. Like just you feeling offended could be enough to get someone canceled.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to.
That's a different, I think that's a totally different subject, but it is relevant. Nowadays, people are afraid to, they want it so badly that they're afraid to correct or reach out to say, listen, you made a mistake. And a lot of people, they won't own up to the mistakes that were made. They'll try to weasel their way out. Oh, I didn't mean it like that or whatnot. But the truth of the matter, did it. Yeah, no, the truth of the matter, if you made a mistake, you should, as a professional, correct it and go forth and not spread stuff to sell papers or sell, more views and more clicks. And that's what happens a lot of times. I mean, depending on whatever news you watch, when we were talking about the presidential cycle, we were seeing flip of a coin. Now, I don't want to offend anyone, which we always say, we don't want to offend anyone. We're very inclusive and we like to hear all opinions. It's one of the reasons why we do a film festival. We have so many films from various walks of life, whether they're very super conservative or super liberal. I mean, we have all walks of life. And I think that's the beauty of a film festival. And that's my views personally in life. I am the type of person that enjoys the dialogue, whether I agree or not, to debate with others, because I think debate creates constructive criticism.
I think that's part of what is the appeal for me on this show is just getting to meet people from different backgrounds. It's like, yes, we talk about politics a lot because that's kind of what's centrally happening right now. And we both, we have an interest in it. But what I like is also getting to meet people who do things that are completely different from me and ask them questions about like, why? Like, what about that particular activity is it that gets your life going? Like, what is it that, gets your engine revving? So it's, it gives you a unique opportunity to see other people's lives and why they do things. So I think that's probably why I like this kind of a format.
Mm-hmm. And I think as, we point the finger, we're doing that pointing the finger thing. We're a part of either the problem or the solution. We're, doing this podcast. We've interviewed so many people. It's important that we spread the facts and correct ourselves or each other when we miss. Like, there's been times on the show where we've said stuff that's like, fact check. We have to, it depends on where you get your information, your sources. So I think with the media, there needs to be more of a pressure put on, like,
And I've been
telling
gullible.
the
I've been
truth.
somebody who's seen like the article without like going back and researching it and be like, ah, and the people are like, yo, dude, did you check to make sure that was true? I'm like, no.
Yeah, no. Hearsay. Where'd you get your facts? Wikipedia. Yeah.
It must be true.
Yeah.
But, you know, speaking of like clickbait and everything like that, has anybody started hearing the giant clicking noises of this horde of cicadas that we're going to be getting? Apparently there's, yeah, so basically there's something called periodical cicadas that keep coming out every, I think it's like every 13 years. I'm not sure the exact number. But, yeah, they're those big, nasty-looking black bugs with the red eyeballs that leave their skeletons hanging out on all the trees and basically eat everything. They're actually really interesting, but I just came across an article today that I thought had a very interesting title. It says, "Get ready for sex-crazed zombie cicadas known as flying salt shakers of death." I would have to say that's probably one of the most interesting titles I've ever heard for an article. Apparently, there's a type of fungus that makes the male cicadas act like women, so they attract their fellow males. And meanwhile, their entire butt is covered with this fungus that infects them when they come to mate with, you know, their buddies. And they end their life by having a mushroom pop out of their head.
Wow. I mean, I hope what you're mentioning
and
is
people
going to be
eat
the
these
next.
mushrooms. People eat these mushrooms for energy.
I don't even want to hear it because this seems like the next opening to another pandemic that I don't want to be a part of.
It's been going on for a while. They've actually done a lot of research on it. Like there are health benefits to it, but still, it's just so freaking weird. It's like an alien movie.
Wow. Yeah.
But
no,
that was completely random. But I had to bring that up. That was pretty fun.
Listen, we're all for the random stuff. I guess we started the segments off in the past where we were doing the fun facts, and I found myself more intrigued with the non-fun facts than the actual fun facts. Like sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. Everything that's the salt shakers of death. I mean, everything that's going on right now, we're seeing over in Iran, or overseas, Israel it's so tragic what's going on right now, and then
you have people running around going, "Oh, it's the rapture!" I'm like, "Whoa, guys! Like we've said that a few times in the past. Let's rein it in a little bit."
Yeah, and we're seeing it now with the whole the crisis with gasoline in our country, which they claim is over. Yet people are still hoarding gasoline. They're putting filling their garbage bags and Tupperwares with gas.
Overnight, the gas price went up nearly $1, like in some places, and it just. I don't know the exact amount, like 50 cents or something, but like, it's a significant amount. Like to the point where when I went to the gas station the other day, I went because I was in New Jersey and it cost $3.50 to fill up my gas.
Yeah,
I'm like, what?
It's extremely, as summer approaches, it makes me a little scared. Like, what are we going to be paying for gas? But I can imagine it going through the roof. And the same thing is right now with the relaxation of the mandates with masks. So here's how they go. We're jumping into this now because we always do. You go to a local Walmart, okay? If you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. So there is no policing of those that walk in who are not vaccinated.
And people have fake IDs now because they're very.
You don't need an ID.
I know, legally, but people are carrying it with them as insurance. So
legally, due to HIPAA, which is a safety for your medical history, you don't need to show anyone any sort of proof like that. So if someone tells you, "Oh, I need to see your card," like that's
here's my card.
Pretty sure, yeah. But that's the scary part. So there's a lot of people now going into Walmart who are not vaccinated and they're not wearing masks. They ask you at the door. I went into a local Walmart and they asked at the door, "Are you vaccinated?" And
but honestly, if you're vaccinated and they come in and they're not vaccinated by choice, the chances are the other people at this point who are there who are not vaccinated are other people who chose not to be. So if they choose to, at that point, really, it's no different than when we had to wear masks during flu season. I'm not saying that it's a flu. I'm saying like before all this started, as a medical professional, I wasn't allowed to go to work unless I either got the flu shot or I wore a mask. Those were my options. There was no in between.
Yeah.
That's it. It's been like that for years, so I don't see why it can't be different for this now. I think at this point, if they start shutting things down again this winter, people are going to lose their minds.
To answer one of the comments, we have BJ Booth. He said that nope, they're going to ask for the card, but they're allowed to ask for the card. It's not covered by HIPAA. I would have to look more into that, because what I know now with a lot of these places, they're asking if you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, and you're allowed in there regardless. They're not asking for proof.
They're asking you in public in front of somebody, which is a violation of HIPAA, because if someone else can hear your answer, you're automatically violating HIPAA. They need to ask you in a way that is discreet.
I just find it bizarre that a greeter at Walmart, some kid at Walmart or something, is asking for your card. I don't see it happen. I don't see how they're going to police that. I mean, I live in a small community, and I live in a small community. You know where I live. But in the summertime, our population increases by hundreds of thousands of summer visitors. And with that said, they're not. I can't imagine any place like going through each person's vaccination card proof. I just think I'm thinking. I think the numbers are going to spike. That's what I'm trying to get at. I think with all this said, you're going to get a lot of people out there that are just going to get lax, and I think the numbers are going to spike. Personally,
I'll be honest though. At this point, here's one of the issues that I have. These cards are a joke. Every single vaccine is registered with a serial number and a computer document, and it is tracked from start to finish with chain of custody. You telling me you need my cardboard piece of paper to tell me whether or not I got vaccinated? Go fuck off.
Well, I think the cardboard piece of paper is like that. It's like that. You remember that sticker that said "I voted"? Well, they actually have a sticker now for "I'm vaccinated." So it's kind of like
wearing a yellow star. Come on.
I'm not going to go that far. That's where you end yourself like Gina Carano from The Mandalorian was saying similar type of stuff that ended up losing.
I'm not that. I don't
career.
believe that, obviously, but it's very, very fascist for the non-fascist side.
I feel like the intentions are good. Ultimately, I really do. Like a lot of people have this these really dark-seated they believe that there's all these conspiracies. I think a lot of people have a lot of these conspiracies, yet at the end of the day, I think they're not realizing the violation of rights and overstepping of boundaries. Like we were talking about in previous episodes, how in a lot of workplaces now, those that aren't vaccinated, even if they have health reasons, they're required to wear 2 masks and a shield all day, while those that are unvaccinated don't get to wear any. Now, you can't tell me that's not a little bit of a violation. It could be safe, but at the same time, they got to wear 2 masks and a shield all day.
And now they're saying you don't have to wear it. It doesn't make sense. If you look at it, down in New Jersey, for example, my niece had a play last weekend. They did a really good job. They explained. I didn't quite understand the rationale by who wore what mask at what time. Basically, they had clear masks, which was really cool. They did the Sound of Music play. And if you were above 18 and you were vaccinated, you didn't have to wear them. But then if they were around the younger kids, they had to put them back on. So there was a lot of switching back and forth. And I'm like, wait, how does that? You can't. It doesn't work.
Well, what you just said right now is one of the main reasons why Anthony, my partner for the Catskill International Film Festival, and I really had to decide if this year was going to be the year we're going to bring back the cinema for the festival. It was a really long and hard discussion because in 2020, that wasn't even a thought. We're in 2021. People are taking their masks off, but is it really the right time?
In 2021, we were going through old buildings looking for paper cups because we thought the world was going to end.
Different story, but at the same time, the same scenario. You're going to have the theaters with limited capacity where there's all these new rules. It's kind of sketchy right now. Maybe we should do one more season virtual, and in the future, bring it back, because that's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to sit down, network, and we're trying our best to make this as interactive and fun as possible. But I can't guarantee you're gonna have as much fun here as you would if we had a party with DJs and alcohol and dancers and all of it.
There's nothing to replace an in-person event. However, one thing that is kind of cool about this increase in use of technology, I think it was going to happen regardless. I mean, you saw the fact that telehealth and everything was already in the process of being almost complete when this all broke out. Like, and it would just transitioned into it in 2 weeks. So all of a sudden, we had a whole new way of doing healthcare. And then right after that, Zoom kind of like picked up the slack where Skype used to be and everything like that. So it's like you gave people an opportunity, ones who either couldn't get to work or it was difficult to get to work or whatever reason, to continue working in some cases. So, it's not 100% bad, but I think it's, I don't know. I don't know why I got off on that topic, but anyways.
No, but it does make sense. I mean, it definitely does. I totally agree. Hey, Teresa. Thanks for watching. But yeah, I really totally agree. I think where we're going now, in sense of things, we were talking about how things were ready to go out with a virtual festival. One of the things that I could tell you right now that is different than an in-person event is the accessibility for people around the world. Never before have I been able to really interact and connect with the foreign filmmakers as much as I do now. I'm emailing, messaging. You're going to see Q&As from people from Australia, from, overseas in other places, Mexico, whatnot, that we wouldn't have been able to have as easy in person. Yeah. I mean, yes, we've had Q&As in previous events from other foreign filmmakers, but now everyone can get involved. You don't have to buy a plane ticket. So even moving forward, what I'm trying to say is, even when there is a brick and mortar in-person event, there's always going to be a presence of something virtual.
There is, because even me, like right now, like I work a lot of events for government, corporate, things like that, doing photography and videography. So one thing that has happened as a result of the pandemic is, like you were saying, like there's always going to be that virtual element that people want to have, because people realize, hey, I can reach 300 times more people if I just put this online, because there's going to be some people who inevitably don't want to go out and be around people right now. Mm-hmm. Or in the future, they just don't feel like going out, so they want to still participate. So we actually have like a new product to offer in some cases where we're actually saying like, hey, look, we'll set up a professional live stream for you, not just like your little cell phone, but like have multiple cameras, use a switcher, have an audio visual thing kind of combined. It gives you a different aspect of business. So in one way, it's an opportunity, even though it closed some other doors. So It's kind of weird.
Yeah. It's important to realize, though, that the change is happening, and I think that we need to embrace it with any type of event moving forward.
Yeah.
We really, So sliding gears for a second here, or getting into a new kind of topic, is there's a film that was accepted for this year's Catskill International Film Festival, La Transione. I hope I'm saying it right. The Transaction, directed by the very talented Laura Lee, who is going to be joining us in a few minutes. This is a 28-minute brilliant film that I feel is so relevant. It's a 28-minute movie, silent in black and white. The cinematography is absolutely gorgeous. It's set in 1910, and it follows 3 Italian sisters who come to America for arranged marriages. The film strongly parallels the current immigration and humanitarian crisis that's going on today. I think it's a very relevant project, and I'd like to have her join the conversation.
I think that's cool.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, hi.
Hi. I think you got to slide your camera over a little so we can see your face.
Right, there we go.
There you are.
Better?
Sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
No, there you go.
That works. So, Laura, tell us a little bit more about this film and the process, because this when I'm watching this feels like a step back in time. You guys really worked hard and making everything seem and feel authentic.
Oh, you've even got the black and white photos behind your head on the wall too.
Yeah, right. Well, I'll tell you. I worked with this wonderful young filmmaker, Logan Rando, who was my cinematographer, and I had done a project with him a couple of years ago, and he asked me, if I wanted to direct something, and I said, well, I just happen to have something. This film is based on a true story of my grandmother, actually, when she came to America in 1910. And she came with her 3 sisters for an arranged marriage. And I just love the stylized nature of silent films. And I thought, when people came to America at that time, Ellis Island really was a melting pot. Nobody spoke each other's languages or anything. So they had to
They
communicate.
changed your name even.
Right, exactly. But they had to communicate in other ways. So a silent film just really made sense for us to do this and to be able to tell the story of my grandmother when she came to America.
Wow. So this is a very personal project to you.
Yeah. So when Logan came to me and he said that, I wanted to do it, I've been thinking about this for a long time. And yeah, so I sat down and wrote the script in about a day and a half, and
Wow.
we decided to do it. Did a GoFundMe, got a but everything was really, really authentic in the project. We shot it in Kingston, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
A local project. That's
yeah.
great.
Kingston's got a lot of beautiful areas.
It
Man.
was
really
really,
does.
I mean, we're small budget, so we were looking for a place that could mock Ellis Island, and we wanted a holding room like in Ellis Island. So we just by chance found this place called the Rear Center for Immigration Studies, right in the middle of the Roundout in Kingston, and they were just wonderful. They let us come in there with 50 people, and we created Ellis Island, which was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
That's
You get
really cool.
the true feel like like there's like a taboo kind of behind silent films that they're kind of like really slow and
Or
they're not
super
as
fast.
but this intrigues you from the very first moment. You know that what you're getting involved with, just like the emotions, and I feel like it requires more from like the actors to really push a silent film than it does if you have oodles of dialogue.
Yeah, I think you're really right. I mean, every single one of those people, even the ones that weren't the principals, all the immigrants, I wanted each one of them to have a story. Why are they coming to America? What are they bringing with them?
Mhm.
What are they leaving behind? And we worked in rehearsals, just so we could create that, even the extras, so we could
Mhm.
create that reality. And a lot of the actors really channeled their own relatives who came through Ellis Island,
Wow.
and
My great uncle went through there. They
real
changed it. Yeah, they changed his name from August Bauman to Uncle, or well, we called him Uncle, but Uncle Augie,
wow.
because his name got changed to Augie in order to be more American.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. And there was this group of people all clumped together, having to get along on a boat for like 2 weeks at a time. And then they get to America thinking that they've come here, here's the land of milk and honey. And they're faced with immediate discrimination, right? I mean,
Mhm.
immediate
And poverty and health.
and poverty, and so much is of the same story is still being retold now. So I felt like it was really important and relevant to tell the story, and do it in a way that people had to really pay attention to detail, you know, and I think that's what the black and white visuals really did.
One improvement back in the day that I'm really happy about is there are no longer mountains of horse poop around New York City.
Yes, no
Because
more
that was literally what you were greeted with when you got to the city, was literally areas that were designated just to scoop all the crap off the
yeah, now
streets.
we have like old pizza stuck to the
Fun
sidewalk,
fact for you.
Bubble gum, you know,
I just
Now you gotta pee in the subway or something like that.
right.
I definitely found like a lot of times when you see like a black and white movie, you kind of like, should this have been in black and white? And I'm like, your film it was made for black and white. You could tell that the cinematographer really, with the lighting aspect, it had to be in black and white.
There's some scenes
That was
that
the
you can't
original
do in color.
intentions.
Oh, absolutely. I spent a long time really researching a lot of those old Ellis Island, movies and things like that. And I really wanted that feel, that kinetic, almost kind of, uh, you know, nervous attitude that you get with black and white. You're kind of jumping a little bit. You don't know what's happening. It's not really smooth and liquid. So it absolutely had to be that way right from the beginning.
When you talked about a parallel, and there is such a parallel right now. What's going on? You know, you're seeing all the migrants from Mexico coming to our country. They're looking for better opportunities, and a lot of times you're hearing the discrimination and stuff. There's like right now there's so many like Asian hate crimes. There's bills being passed right now, and just
and being battled as well. It's crazy.
it's interesting how like when people come to this country, they're looking for a better opportunity, and each time you would think over the past 100 years we would have been past this by now, but it's kind of like a cycle that we seem to.
The American dream hasn't died, but it has certainly been somewhat overshadowed by some of the stuff that we've had to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, in one of my favorite, and I think one of the most poignant scenes in our film is when, I don't want to give it away too much, but is when there's a young mother that gets separated from her son, and she doesn't speak English, she doesn't know what's happening, and the kid is taken away from her because he has lice in his hair, and she doesn't know where he's going. She doesn't have any idea what's happening, and here they are being split apart. And that's what's happening now. Children are being taken away, putting in in detention camps, and and they have no idea where their parents are.
Tinfoil blankets.
Exactly. And I just wanted to show that we have been thinking this way and treating people this way. This isn't a new thing. This has been going on for
that is very true. This is not a new thing.
Right. And these are the people that, they built America. They came here, I mean, unless you're Native American, or an African American, you came here from another country, and, nobody is native to this country except for the Native Americans, and the African Americans came here through bondage. So, this is our story, so I was hoping that people would, see the parallel and understand it, and hope that that it would raise awareness. That's all.
There's a really good book that I read from around that time period. I don't remember the author's name, but I believe it was called Island at the Center of the World, or it may have been called New Amsterdam Island at the Center of the World. Yeah. And it's a really, really good book about that exact time period. So if anybody gets a chance to read it, I recommend it.
Yeah.
So when can people see this movie at the festival?
It is being screened, I guess, Sunday afternoon. I think it's the time block is 2 to, I don't have it from me, 2 to 4 or something like that. It's Sunday afternoon. I
will do a fact check myself.
Hey, thank you.
I don't want to give anybody the wrong information here, but it's a very packed schedule this year, but I think we have some really amazing films. So your film is playing the 12 to 2 block on Sunday. So I urge everyone to go see this film. Can you please give me the correct pronunciation? I hope I don't chop it up.
That's okay. It's called La Transazione.
Okay. Transazione.
Or the transaction.
Awesome. So we look forward to seeing your project out. And also, we urge everyone, when you do see this film, to go and vote. There is 8 Audience Choice Awards. So there's 8 different award categories that this film could possibly win in, as well as all the jury choices, which is the 12 other awards. So please go out and see it. And thank you so much, Laura, for joining us tonight.
It was great talking to you.
Thank you, guys.
It's been a pleasure.
Terrific. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to watching the film in the festival.
Awesome.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night. She's sweet.
Well, hello, Steve. How are you?
Hey, I got to balance my head here too.
We're all got to do it. We all got to do it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Steve.
How you doing, Steve?
All right. How you doing? There you go. Move it to the center.
Steve, Stephen, Charles.
So Steve has 2 films. Actually, is it 2 or 3 this year?
2 series, yes.
2 series. You got Lower East Sides and what is it? Season 2 of Brazzy Jazzy.
Yes.
Yeah. So those that remember Brazzy Jazzy, let me get this correct, was an award winner last season, right? For Best Pilot?
That's affirmative, Charles.
That's we're award winner. And this is the 2nd season, which I will say, I don't want to give too much away, but I feel like this is an even better. Oh, yeah. See, there we go. Very sexy.
Sleep with it. My wife complains, but who's done more for me? Catskills or my wife?
Catskills. No. No. I didn't say that. I didn't
Was
say
it being
that.
recorded?
No. So definitely got to check out these films. My honest opinion, I think this might be the better of the seasons of this, as far as 1 and 2 of Brazzy Jazzy. I feel like a little more went into it.
Yeah, well,
once
it's been once it's been established, you can play a little more. But the first season, the first couple episodes, especially in a web series where it's only 5 or 6 minute episodes, you got a lot to worlds to build before you can really let them loose. So
what do you find really challenging when you're doing a series and you kind of got to one up it the next time or make it a little more dramatic or make it funnier? What is it challenging to continue on that, or do you find it a little easier?
It's actually a toss-up because you catch the lightning in a bottle the first time, and I find it easier to make it funnier the second time because you have a lot of layers already built in. But also, not denigrating any by actors, they're a little too self-conscious the second time.
Like if I've done this before.
I know this character. Trust me.
My character wouldn't do something like this. He wouldn't say this.
No, they wouldn't go that
far.
I don't have divas, but it's more like I don't want to be more. I think it's more they try to be funny as opposed to the first time they were nervous about just knowing the stuff, and which brings out better comedy when you try to be funny and with the faces and stuff. I'm always
Unless
like,
you're an expert at it. It's like,
let's just try and do the show. We don't need to editorialize with your expressions.
Absolutely.
We've run into that before.
So with
once you're in the editing room, you're like, wow, this takes no good.
Listen, I have a film right now, an editor's looking at, and she's like, "You're overdoing it." She's like, because I'm also an actor, which many may not know, but I also act in a few of my projects. Yeah, you're overdoing it, Charles. You need to tone it down.
It shows up. I tell people when I give little classes for actors, I said, once you're in the editing room, how close you are, you see every one of your reactions, especially in HD. So
you see every one of your pores, let alone your actions.
Yeah, so don't overdo it. I mean, that's what it was. Robert Duvall was always like gave so little movement and just the slightest expressions, and it carried a lot of weight, as opposed to someone whose head's always moving, and you're like, wow, this not only does this not match, it's frenetic, it's disturbing, it's distracting.
So tell the audience a little bit about Brazzy Jazzy as well as the other project, East of Sides.
Okay, well, Brazzy Jazzy is about a Brazilian girl comes to New York to become a fashion designer, and sorry, I'm in New York. There's going to be ambulances flying by. This is with windows closed on the 10th floor, so don't panic.
The lullaby of the city.
Yes. So, the tagline is, it's sometimes sexy, often funny, but always caffeinated. And that's one of the things is I call this caffeinated speed comedy. There's a lot going on. And it's based on my wife's Brazilian, so she came here. Besides all the basic cultural things, I didn't want to go too much into that. But it's more about, actually, more so what your previous guest was saying, about the American dream. Americans, my wife mentions this quite often, are a little spoiled. And people who come to this country see as endless amounts of opportunity and just got to work hard, and you actually have a chance to succeed. Whereas most of the countries you're coming from, no matter how hard you work, you're plateaued. It's not even a
Like no one
glass
says
ceiling.
it's going to be easy, but it is possible.
Right. They're not asking for it to be easy. They're asking for the actual word of opportunity.
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to get too deep, but and a lot of my Brazilian friends, they did a lot of gigs on Craigslist. So the second season opens with one of those gigs. I won't give it away. And these things always devolve quickly. And especially when you're in the country legally as a tourist, so you're not supposed to be working. So you're doing jobs off the grid. And
Suddenly you're on a casting couch.
yes. So, yeah, there's just a lot going on, but it's all in comedy. And she has a problem with her roommate, thinking she dresses too provocatively, and it's just simpler things. I'm trying to keep it comedy here and not delve into the many differences between Brazilian and American culture.
Yeah.
There's a couple. They
I
are better
found-
at making fun of us than we are at them. That's for sure.
I remember talking when we talked about the first, when we did our Q&As with Brazzy Jazzy, and even now, the amount of energy in that production, whether it's behind the camera and even the actors and actresses in front of the camera, it's so fast paced. I can only imagine what it had to be like on set to keep that energy at a 10 for as long as you did to create these episodes.
Well, that's actually something I've talked about other times. Is we only shot 10-hour days because it is comedy. No one's gonna be funny after 12, 14 hours. What's the point? It's all
You're like,
yeah. All right, I'll do it. And everyone knowing that going in doesn't have to. They pace themselves, but they know that if they get tired, I'm just gonna stop. There's really one actress who's in everything. So everything else, the character actors can come in and really blast it out of the park. But yeah, what I've noticed on tour of the festivals is, and I'm not saying it's because Brazzy Jazz is funnier or it's better. It's a different pacing because there's a lot of office style comedies out there, slow with a lot of expressions and
The Office.
dramatic pause, uncomfortable pauses, and this one's like being shot with heroin compared to that. So it sticks out rightly or wrongly. So
It's it's in your face.
Yeah,
I could say that it's in your face.
well, I'm older. I mean, you guys look younger, maybe not so young, but I'm older. I remember that's how comedy was this pace was. Then
And it was meant to offend you and make you question things and go like, I don't know.
Once The Office came in and stuff like that, it really changed the pacing of comedy. I mean, Seinfeld is very fast. I mean, I wasn't trying to write like 3 jokes a page, which they try and teach you. It's just move. And let's be honest, when I shot it, it wasn't this fast. It happened in editing. I have a great editor, Gloria Tello. She actually edited both my projects. She unfortunately couldn't make it today. But we were conscious of getting enough footage, just let them play. And we always had a wild take so they could do whatever they wanted. It's shocking how much of that ended up in the final project. But I wanted to know that I could cut away the minute it got boring. The minute it was, and there's a lot of footage, of good footage, I thought, of stuff. But once you see it strung together, like that's a pretty good scene, but it doesn't continue the same pacing. Or it's really not, it's sort of repetitive to something else that already happened. And you take out these 3, even 10 seconds of, this back and forth, all of a sudden it's that much faster and it's only the best bits. And that's what doing web series allows you. And some of the tricks we use. But it's interesting because we cut it back together as a 29-minute first episode pilot. So it's 2 episodes of 30 minutes each. So you starting with the second season is really the second episode of a 30-minute. It's worked so much better now than the original cut we had because we were trying too much story arcs. You're trying to
How many episodes are in each season?
6. Original was 5 minutes, but we just got picked up for distribution, and they made us or asked us. I don't know if they made us. They didn't whip me or anything. But they said it works better, let's make basically 14 to 15-minute episodes. So we basically we just put them together, and we didn't really have to edit anything, just took out intros and stuff. And my editor, she's like, my God, I like this better. Like, I agree, but I think part of it is because we've seen it so many times the other way that, wow, this is different.
This is new, yeah.
And as you guys know, when you do, especially dealing with comedy, you hear the same line 10 times. You don't find it funny by the 10th time. You got to be careful with yourself not to cut it out because you're tired of the line rather than with the audience who's never seen it.
Yeah, that's an important thing too. Like when you're having someone edit your projects, do you want them to see it like with fresh new eyes, or are they present throughout the production?
Yeah, she was not present.
Because I just find it like that to me is a conflict of interest because they're bored too. This is fresh.
Yeah, I trust her implicitly. So what happens is we shoot. I give her all the footage. I don't even hear from her for about a month. Then she'll give me a cut, and I'm like, all right. The first time we're working together, we had to discover what we both like. By the second show, Lower East Sides, she gave it to me, and there was very little changes I needed to do. It was mostly, minutia of, okay, let's maybe a better shot here. I like what you did here. Maybe we can take out this character, especially in ensembles.
Oh, yeah.
If you guys are both actors, if you're not up to snuff, you stand out like a sore thumb. Like, wow, I like these guys. Every time this girl comes in screen, I want to throw something at the television. So
you're like,
we're talking a little bit about pacing, and I really truly believe that a lot of filmmakers don't realize the importance of pacing in a project. A lot of filmmakers, they go for like the really epic, long-winded dialogue, the crazy action scene. Like, we can make it a few minutes longer. But then when you really think about it, it's played up. Ta-da!
Hi, how are you?
hello.
Hello.
This is live, okay? That would be
Oh, I think my dog.
But when you
Hey,
see
at least
pacing, a
she
lot of
didn't crawl
people.
in like my sister did to try and find her laundry when I was doing one episode.
Yeah, about pacing, a lot of filmmakers, I don't really think, they don't look at the importance. I mean, a really good, well-rounded filmmaker. I really think in the future, Steve, you'd be a great candidate to help host a workshop on pacing of projects.
I did a for the London Comedy Festival. I was on a panel that was hosted by the BBC, which to me was like, oh my God.
BBC.
I love BBC comedies like Peep Show and all of them. And yeah. And they said, yes, yours really stood out because the British style is even slower. They created The Office, and so they have a lot of dry comedy. And they said, man, we want to talk to you because I was exhausted. They only watched like the first 6 minutes.
Well, it's like when you watch BBC, it's like you take exciting stories and you make them boring. You're like, and welcome to the BBC. This just in, the world is ending. Where in the United States, it's like, the world's ending. Oh my God. Tune in.
Yes, they have a dry sense of humor, but especially their comedies, which they have a bunch. But there's a lot of,
I like the dry humor though.
Yeah, I do too. But you gotta, it's a balance. I can't just be as fast as possible all the time, but I try because I get bored. And now I've actually trained myself. I watch so much stuff like everyone else on Netflix or Amazon or Hulu. I'm like, oh my God, this is not funny, which is, the concept of comedy now is more dramedy. It's not just flat out comedy. It's, heavy stuff's going on. Little comic elements, but then it gets heavy. So yeah, you're 100% right about pacing.
Yeah, super important. A lot of shows, a lot of like really big shows, it's totally subtopic, but we're talking about sitcoms and stuff like that. They ended on really serious notes. A lot of people were like, they just did the Friends reunion, or they're doing it now, I guess, on HBO Max, and people don't remember. Like, it kind of ended on a very serious note. King of Queens ended on a very serious note. I think Carrie couldn't have a baby or something like that. Seinfeld, they all ended up in prison. Like they
just ended up confused.
Well, that I'm talking about comedy stories. I think there was some point in the 90s where a lot of sitcoms, they took a really serious route towards like their final episodes. Like
Avant-garde.
how can we make this as tragic as possible for our characters, or put them in scenarios that they can't get out of?
Feel like, hey, you thought you were gonna laugh tonight.
I thought pandemic-wise, people want to laugh. They don't want to.
Oh my God, yeah.
Down to earth, just escape.
I've never sought out comedy more in my life than I have in this past year.
But also, without getting too deep into it, comedy's really on the ropes now with cancel culture. And I did comedy stand-up, over Zoom, and we were given beforehand topics we could not talk about, and it was like, not that I was going to, but it's like, well, this is sort of a downer.
Yeah, it's interesting because with Brazzy Jazzy and both your other film, I always say, why do I always say the name Lower East Sides? They both kind of hit on topics that could, like, I don't want to say cancel culture, but they don't. But like, they're not afraid. There wasn't an afraid writer writing them projects. There wasn't some guy like,
I'm too old to be afraid. Yes, I believe me when I
I'm
came
too
to
blunt.
Brazzy Jazzy. This is basically, it's got picked up for distribution now, but not in LA, not in the United States, because I was asked every meeting I had in LA, even before I shot it, even after I shot it, well, why is I'm going to consolidate some of these, a bald, middle-aged Jewish guy making a story about a Brazilian girl?
who cares?
But I have to give my whole justification. My wife's Brazilian. I lived in Brazil for 10 years.
Shouldn't matter.
My mother's a professor of Brazilian studies at Brown. All of these things. And then after the end, they go, wow, yeah, I guess. But it's still a little weird, you got to admit. I'm like, what? I can only write about bald, Jewish, middle-aged guys or middle-aged men.
And then you'd be called something else.
Well, as we all know, Aaron Sorkin was able to write The West Wing because he worked there for 4 years. Not, he did his research. He talked to people.
Yeah.
I think those things, a lot of things may have happened, but he wrote new characters that are far more interesting than the people who work there.
I think what you just said right now is probably one of the most inspiring moments of this evening. You don't necessarily, if you do your research, you could practically write about whatever.
Yeah,
that's what it's about. I'm to put yourself as a creative in a box where you can only do this.
I hate that. Everybody's always like, you have to have a niche.
Well, that's the thing too. When you think of like really big projects that have came out in the past, like there would be no Brokeback Mountain if it had to be a gay director behind it. Like you don't necessarily have to be a certain thing to create a certain thing. You know what I mean?
Heath Ledger, I don't think was gay, right?
No, he was not. But the point of the matter is like, and that's a big thing now too, which you just mentioned. A lot of things is you can't take certain acting roles depending on what your ethnicity or sexual orientation is, and that would eliminate so many different. It's a different thing if you're like doing blackface. Yeah, I'm totally against that.
Yeah,
but I'm
how
against
far do you
that.
take it? Like, can you have like Schindler's List if the guy's not Jewish? Like, I mean, how far are you going to take all this nonsense?
I'm talking about like, and there's roles out there that you're gay, straight, certain roles that are out there that are typically portrayed by a certain race. You're not going to have you're not going to have a white dude portray Michael Jackson. They did that on a Lifetime movie. There was a white dude who portrayed Michael Jackson, but this was like the lighter version of Michael, but it got a lot of heat.
I mean, he was pretty light.
I know, but it's see what I'm saying? A slippery slope topic. But
no, yeah. Hey, look, as a writer, I don't even know what to write about. I have so many other projects, but there is. I'm going to go back a step. To be successful, I was told when I used to live in LA and work there, that if you get 1% of the population that likes your project, you've done very well. 1% is 3 million people. 3 million people don't watch any TV show now, except on Netflix, which is worldwide. That they get,
or on YouTube,
Bridgerton or something that goes off the rails. But most of their stuff doesn't. And if you're just be true to your audience of who you are, and the audience that's out there that has to fight through all the noise just to even find your show, do the best you can. Don't compromise it, because then in the end you finally get to your audience and they're like, yeah, I just expect them to go a little further, or he
was holding back.
Yeah, why hold back? The worst you have is a legacy of, here are my projects. 2 years from now, the pendulum may be swinging somewhere else. I don't think it's. I'm joking. I mean, I've been asked so many weird questions on panels of, one who asked about this specific show asked me, how are you able to write 3 powerful, kick-ass women? What do you mean? What's my answer supposed to be?
I know 3 other powerful kick-ass women.
I created them. It's based on people I've met or not met. My wife may have been one of the characters, but it was a blonde American girl and a Hispanic Dominican woman. Excuse me. So I've never met those people before in New York. I mean, it would be harder for me. I have other characters. My other show. There's a Russian. There's this. There's that. I mean, this is New York City. What do you think I'm running into?
Just walk down the street.
Melting pot right there.
Yeah, but that's the point. And I bring up someone like David E. Kelley, great television writer. He's written some of the greatest female characters of all time. Ally McBeal. Then he wrote, The Practice and all of those. But he also wrote the show everyone's raving about is female empowerment with Dirty Little Things. He wrote it. So he's married to a fantastic woman. He obviously, as a writer, can study people and say, that's interesting. That's not interesting. I want to see a character that, what if? That's the first thing you always saw as a writer, say, what if? That's a cool story. And you learn, you tell a story. Well, at the bar last night, it was really cool. I saw this guy, he tripped over this cat who had run in and broke his arm. That's an okay story. Then we were taught in film school, you say, what if? What happened before that? What happened before that one incident just happened that brought him in? He was already in a bad mood, and the final step was he tripped over a cat. Or what happens after that? I don't need to watch everyone wants like a Kardashian where they know everything's going to happen. But
I'm so tired of the Kardashians.
He trips over a cat in a bar. What happens for the next 30 minutes of story? And I would always ask that when someone's telling me a story bar. Then what happened? I don't know. Yeah. That's all that happened. He tripped over a cat. What do you want me to tell you? But that means they're not a writer, because the writer goes beyond that. Wow.
I think a really good writer, they really challenge themselves, and I don't want to say they go into God mode, but you're creating a universe. When you create a story, you're creating an entire universe from what they wear to where they are to what they say to each other. And sometimes, when we go back into it, sometimes the stuff that they say to each other isn't appropriate or culturally sensitive, but it's the humanity of it all and how it flows. Stefan, off record, you and I talk about all types of shit. And that's what it's
You're sitting at home by yourself, you're creating the world. That's the only point of being a writer, because most of the rest of your life as a writer is going to be being trampled on and spit on and being told, a list of things why your show.
As an artist in general, you're going to run into that, but especially with writing, I think, because people have a written proof of what you said, and it's
Well, we all can go back to the historically past shows like Breaking Bad, which everyone breaks down now as this is the perfect pilot script. Everyone passed on it. HBO, it went to AMC. Think about it, at the time, we're old enough to remember.
Which
AMC
produced
American movies. That was their first. They had Mad Men, which was passed on by everything, and they had Breaking Bad, and
Hell on Wheels.
That was it. That was what built that entire network, were shows that major networks, and these were people who were experienced writers, showrunners, had previous shows on the air for both, Matthew Weiner for Mad Men and Vince Gilligan for Breaking Bad. Yeah, these guys had years. It wasn't like they had a fluke show at some point. Matthew Wayne worked on The Sopranos. And they read that. He carried that script around for 8 years. And now everyone looks back at those two shows as two of the greatest shows ever made. And
to add to that, another show that's right in the mix with there is the spinoff. I am deeply in love with Better Call Saul.
I haven't gotten into that one yet.
I love that show.
I think Better Call Saul. I've
hardcore.
had so many debates with people where I really truly believe that Better Call Saul at points surpasses the Breaking Bad in emotion.
It could.
I mean, it's because people fall in love with the characters from Breaking Bad. But when you see the history of what Jimmy McGill becomes in Breaking Bad from what he is, on a tragedy standpoint, I think it's
astonishing, as you said.
It's a beautiful film.
To have
Beautiful
the balls, first of all, to take on your own classic project and go, prequel it. And I remember watching the first episode. I'm like, well, this is gonna be tough because it was so slow. He opens up.
I know that. I actually stopped watching after the first episode. I might give it another shot.
It was so slow and but once you get into it, it was so. I had nightmares, and it wasn't because it was horror going on, because it so profoundly got into my head of what was going on, because it was so much little stuff going on behind.
Oh yeah, and then I know we're getting deep into this, but the dynamic between his brother and his relationship and how things fall apart, and by the time you get to the last season before the final season comes out, it's so epic. I'm shivering even talking about it. It's so great, but that's like. We're talking about pacing and masterful. I know there's nothing to do with it, but it's such a show that gets overlooked because Breaking Bad was so damn awesome.
Well, it's also because Vince Gilligan has reached in his life, just that level of creativity and confidence that is very rarely reached, that he knows what he's doing. He knows no one's going to tell him not to do it. And his people he works with just are not. There's zero fear, and they have this whole thing mapped out.
I totally agree. So a little bit, can you just give us a little bit about Lower East Sides? Because this is also playing, and this is very different from Brazzy Jazzy.
Right. This one's actually based on my first feature film, which was about a lesbian rock and roll band on the Lower East Side. But this is a show, I was asked to run a pilot about it 5-6 years ago, but the genre of music on television goes out very quickly. After Vinyl was canceled and Roadies, which, by the way, Roadies broke my heart because I love Cameron Crowe, but the show was awful. And Vinyl, which was Scorsese, and then all right, no one's gonna do a music show. But then Glee came out, and that was big. But Glee is just repeating pop songs. And the same with Zoe's Infinite Playlist. So they'll do that where they'll spend millions of dollars licensing songs and then put on these production numbers, but they won't do something about just the grunt of rock and roll. So my show is about 4 bands on the Lower East Side. I call them rock and roll wannabes on the rough road to rock and roll stardom. And they're led by a jaded club manager and I guess spunky, record producer, all low rent. It's just a rainbow coalition of people all trying to make it, different styles of music. There's a punk rock band. There's a pop punk, pop band. There's a bunch of things. And because it's an ensemble, I had 30 speaking roles.
Wow.
So certain people pop. It was a
That's a lot of people.
Yeah, all original music too. So that's why we're showing how the music's made, from inspiration to getting in the studio, trying to get it done. What makes this song good, and all the fights, because that's what I learned in my first film. We did all this original music. I'm not a musician, but I write music. I write lyrics. I can hum a melody. And I would hire studio musicians, and we had other people who were writing with me. And everyone started fighting because they thought it was going to be successful. And they wanted rights. Anyone who strums a guitar or sings a vocal, they argue over royalties. haven't made a penny. No one's picked up this song, but we're already fighting over how much we're going to break up.
Like we haven't even paid for the film yet.
Well, exactly. But I did learn I still make more money off the music than I did off that film, because music, because people saw the reasons the songs were there. They saw how some of the songs were made, and it gives you hopefully an emotional connection to the song of, well, I see the inspiration. It was because he just broke up with his girlfriend, and girlfriend stole his dog, so he wrote "Doggone Love." There is no song named "Doggone Love" in this, but it's stuff like that. But coming up from that original inspiration to writing a song, then making it good enough, and then getting it out there. And one of the bands in it is like very big on YouTube, and they have all these crazy videos, and they of course become the stars, even though they have no musical talent. But they are actors and comedians, and they put together this song for their web series. I won't give away the name because it's so absurd, but their song goes viral, whereas all of these talented musicians in this band are going nowhere. And so it's that kind of stuff. But it's more comedy. It's dramedy, I would say. I know you're not allowed to say the dramedy word, but that's what it is.
Why not?
They hate it. They hate that word when you bring it up. Because it's like Orange is the New Black winning an Emmy for Best Comedy. You're like, really? Yeah.
I don't know. Crazy Eyes was pretty funny.
But they're funny. But some of the funniest things I ever heard in my life were in The Sopranos. I don't think that was ever classified as a comedy.
No.
That's very true.
Yeah,
genre-
that would be hard to pull.
Putting films in a box is so tough. Sometimes you just want to make a general film in general, or general film in general. Sometimes you just want to make a general story, and it can be put in so many different boxes.
Well,
Fargo. You ever see the show Fargo?
Yeah.
First season, I think the show is brilliant altogether. But like, when I remember the first season, the way they were talking, Minnesota, people from Minnesota, whatnot, I was like, this is going to be like a dramedy possibly. But there was really hilarious elements in the show, but it went down a slithery path of darkness.
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute myself because another ambulance went by. But this one's stopping in front of the building. Yeah, but even the violence in Fargo didn't raise people like, that's not a violent movie, even though there's some crazy violence in it.
Yeah,
but it's so absurd. It was like cartoon violence.
Who's the main actor in that again?
Well, Billy Bob Thornton was in the first season, but he also had, I forget his name, but he's Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks, maybe, or Dave, one of the Hanks sons. And he's a really famous actor from the Hobbit movies, was the main, something, I think, Friedman. He's really big in it. But season 2, they had actually Jesse Plemons from Breaking Bad as the main character with...
Yeah, it's an anthology series. Another one that blew me away, it's along that same line. It took me, I only saw it a few months ago, was Get Shorty, the TV series. Have you seen that?
I remember that.
I haven't seen it.
That is funny, but it is edgy as hell and violent, and they go from extreme comic situations to, someone getting their
Yeah,
and I loved it. I was blown away by it, and I can't do. It doesn't mean I would try and do it, because I wouldn't be able to do that kind of level. But I admire the people who can and give me something a little different.
Well, even when the actors in those shows, like most of the actors, like when you saw, Billy Bob's a little crazy, but Chris Rock is in the latest season of the hell we were just talking about, Fargo. Yeah. And he plays like a mob boss. That was to me like a big, Chris Rock. And Chris Rock is in the new Saw movie. I love when you see those actors, they take these transformative roles. When we talked about Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston was like from Malcolm in the Middle? Silly dad. Seinfeld. To become, it's Seinfeld to becoming Walter White. Yeah. That's diverse acting and stuff. Well, but
you know who's really branched out, and he's in Get Shorty, and one of the best parts of it is Ray Romano.
Oh, yeah. I've seen him in a few dramatic roles, but I haven't seen that show.
You should watch it because he's fantastic. This is by far his edgiest role. He was in Vinyl, and a show I love, and it's probably because of my age and who I am, is Men of a Certain Age.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
I love, again, now that was classified as a bittersweet comedy because it was funny, but it's also uncomfortable because they're all turning 50, and not everything is sunshine and smiles in your life. And but they drew you in, and then it didn't get big enough.
There was another show on HBO recently, or on Netflix, that came out with I want to say Michael Douglas, and I'm not sure which actors it was, but it was a similar thing, like
the Kaminsky Method.
Yes, that was a similar thing. Like, it was kind of tragic but hilarious at the same time. It was like, it was really real.
Yeah, it was Alan Arkin, the 80 or 280-year-olds basically in it. But yeah, it was uncomfortable. It's two 70, 80-year-olds trying to make it.
Now we have a leaf blower in the background. I apologize.
Nothing compared to my ambulances. Come on.
So when can people see? I know that you're Brazzy Jazzy. We got playing. Is it opening night tomorrow night? It is playing at the 7 to 10 o'clock block. So it's gonna be a very long block. So everybody get comfortable, get your popcorn, get your snacks ready. You get to see Brazzy Jazzy tomorrow night, and
looking forward to it.
Lower East Sides is playing 3 to 5 p.m. on Saturday. So check that out. And what I've been telling everybody is vote, vote, vote. I don't want to repeat myself.
My wife's upset we can't go. She loves the Catskills. Live. But
we can't wait to go in person and have an in-person event into the near future. And it's going to be bigger. Yeah, bigger and better.
It's open today. They announced the Nick game, a playoff game. They're going to have 15,000 people. That's 75% capacity, but you have to be vaccinated, so everyone has to scan to go in. So we're getting there. We're just getting back to, we'll see. But
a little bit of normalcy here. But thank you so much, Steve, for
thank you.
Yeah, thanks
talking with us tonight. And
looking forward to watching tomorrow.
We will definitely be interacting. Make sure you get your people out to vote. There's 8 awards.
Yeah.
There's 20 awards, but there's 8 by the audience.
A lot of actors are my second show. So having 30 speaking roles opens you up to maybe 30 votes. But I know 1,000 people are voting for some of these shows. So.
You'd be surprised. We've had movies with great ensembles, and there was 0 votes behind some films, while others had 21,000. It's like you didn't even vote for your own movie, like for real. But it frustrates me as like the person behind the event, because you get to see the carelessness. Like, people sometimes just really don't give a shit. It's like, if you're gonna push your film, at least push it to the end. Like, you got here, push it a little further.
Yeah, Brazzy Jazz will still may vote, but everyone's excited who's in the cast of Lower East Side. So they thought we were going there, and I had to break the news to them that we are not going up there. We're not going apple picking either. So
maybe in the near future.
Very near future.
A little warm yet for that.
All right, Steve. So it was great talking to you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Be well, guys.
Peace.
So everybody, thank you for watching this episode of the Thursday Exchange.
And have a wonderful evening.
Tune in tomorrow night, CatskillFilmFest.com for this year's opening ceremony, 7 p.m. at night. It's free of charge. There will be prize giveaways, and there are some amazing films opening night as well as the rest of the weekend. Get involved with the Q&As, and you have a chance to win some of these. Where are they? Where am I? What is it?
No strip shows. Oh, there.
Some of the shirts, some of the Catskill International Film Festival shirts, and other prizes. Get involved.
Be there, be square.
And vote. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Woo, hoo, hoo, hoo.
Bing, bam, boom, boom, bam, bam. Not bad.